Afternoon all, it's 12:30 p.m. UK time. So this is Chess 24 Banter Blitz. Let's just make sure I've got my preview working and we'll get started. Okay, I'll just mute over here and we'll take the first challenge. Fenneman. Okay, hi there, Fenneman. Trying Sicilian defense in this first game. Maybe I'll pinch it. I can try and stretch out on the queen side with b5, b4, but that's been stopped, yes. But even so, I'm renewing my threat here. b5, well, positional threat. I think sometimes it's good to try and weaken white on the dark squares, especially if you've got the g7 bishop. So this kind of operation, just to weaken those dark squares a little bit, soften them up. In particular, d4 could be useful, but in general, this whole diagonal, I think, could be handy to try and liberate that bishop across that diagonal. There might be b3 is a tactical forcing move to make note of here. B takes and things like knight b4 could also be, especially with if I unleash this bishop here. So b takes and knight b4 could be on the cards with that pin on c3. If I wanted to grab the bishop, if I ever move the rook here, I have to note my opponent's forcing moves or threats like knight g5 or bishop f7. So keeping the rook on f8 might be handy. So for the moment, positioning, I'm just trying to increase that grip on the dark squares. Now possibly, queen b6, knight c4, queen b7 might be a good thing to do, even though it's with tempo. I would be threatening here b takes on that bishop on b3 here. So I've got my dark square pressure, and I've got a little pressure now on b3 here to try and win that piece. Okay, so this looks bad actually because that piece is hanging on b3 now. So as a chess assassin, you're trying to look for the downsides of the opponent's position all the time to assassinate them on the chessboard. So even though I encourage the tempo gain, then the bishop is the key thing here, unless there's a backfire with rook b1 at some point. But here I'm just taking the queen, so I think this is a freebie. Let's make sure this pre-move stretches as far as retaking the queen. Otherwise, that would be embarrassing. If I went to b4, let's make sure. Yeah. Okay. So, c3 is under fire now. Right, so I think, just take on b1. The entry points need to be factored in. b7, b8, b6, they're not major entry points here. Maybe bishop a6 is plausible. Yeah, as long as the entry points are not too crushing for me. All right, thanks for the game, Fenneman. Marcel. I'll try knight c6. So someone's suggesting f4 cool opening on the chat here. Bird's opening. Yeah, actually, Bird's had some venom, actually. If you play it well. Yeah, it's the follow-ups, really. Even, the Grob has venom, g4. It's all in the follow-ups, I think. Now here, I'm a little bit surprised there because this does allow me to blunt this bishop and get this kind of aggressive pawn chain where it seems I'm playing already with some sort of some sort of with the black pieces already, because the bishop's kind of blunted. King's still in the center, and there's light square weaknesses. I can actually almost strand with the king in the center with bishop h3, but knight f4 needs to be factored in. f5 might be plausible. In fact, I think I will try this, because knight f4. I'm wondering if rook e8 there is handy, pinning the bishop. Now there's the possibility of f5, and at the very least, with these light squares and without that fianchettoed bishop, they should be in theory a bit weaker. But concretely, I think here castling e3 is looking very good. Now I have got hanging piece here. He has got queen h5, looking at the bishop. Probably, knight g5 after that might be scary. Okay, now I feel okay, I can do something with tempo here, like this, to hit that knight. Okay. And I think I want to rearrange my rooks, actually, so that this rook's joining the party. If my rooks are like this, then maybe g5, knight h5, takes, and I'm hitting the queen. Okay, now here, the forcing move rook f4 looks interesting, but also knight e5, just to put pressure on f3 now. So with queen c6 and g5, f3 could be under great scrutiny here. With no peg in the center, okay, now there might be f4, which parries that stuff. So can I still build up, though, with doubling the rooks? And if f4, knight g4 to f2 is supported with the queen, so knight g4 to f2, and if I double rooks, then maybe g5 after. Okay, h3 is hanging there. He's had to give up the exchange. That can't be good news, giving up the exchange there. Now I can still build up on this f-file with g5 here, and also, of course, I could have just taken now on h3, but I was a bit focused about doubling the rooks there. Sometimes a positional decision, I'm not thinking tactically, and vice versa. But yeah, let's just take that pawn and then play for g5 and bishop. Not sure about bishop d6. I'll drop d4, but certainly g5 probably should be in consideration here. And okay, maybe d4 is dropping. D4 is dropping. I can probably go around with rook f6, h6, or try and hold that for longer. There's a few things to try out here. Possibly using this rook rather than this rook, because I don't want a weak back row if there's a transaction of bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes, queen takes. I don't want a weak back row, so I'll try and hold my d pawn for a moment with this. So I'm still looking at winning g3 now in the variations, swapping basically d4 for g3. Possibly something like h. I don't know, my back row is probably safe enough here for a moment. Maybe I can think about bishop b6 with the idea of c5, just to hold that d4 firmly, and then do something with that bishop. Once it's free of that duty, I can probably play bishop c7, and then maybe double the rooks again. Okay, let's try this approach. Unless my queen's going to get trapped with rook h4. No, the queen's always got this diagonal for the moment. I'm just wondering about the potential of my queen getting trapped. Okay, let's make sure that the d pawn's not going anywhere. There is knight e5 or knight g5. Okay, let's go here, I think. Let's try and defend against getting mated, which would be embarrassing. Ha ha. Well, the queen was defending h7 anyway. I just want this knight out of here. Okay. If I do this, now g4, I can take on g4, and that's check. Knight takes c5. Knight takes c5. That might be plausible. And what about rook f6 here? What about rook f6? Is that better? Maybe with the idea of rook g6. I'm happy that the bishop's blunted and pawn secure. but there's some work to do. Queen d1 check. Queen d1 check would win c2, which looks pretty good. I'm threatening rook takes e6 now. Now that knight looks a little bit stranded, actually. Right, so I can probably play a check and and take, or well, there might be better here. Although that is lucrative, just to simplify the position. Just wondering if there's any forcing moves I'm missing. I think White's position's not that bad that I think there's a forced win here or anything. So I might just exchange off queens. Maybe rook c7 though, because there's no b4, and if the knight moves rook c2 check, wins that bishop. Yeah, rook c7, as long as I'm not getting mated. This should be okay. Rook c2 check, and rook takes b2. That's a very good that's a very good response. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I might need to go into a dodgy endgame at this rate. Bishop e3, bishop takes, rook takes d3. I'm just wondering if my a5 is vulnerable after that. Dark square bishop, this dark square pawn could be a liability. It's probably worth me going into this endgame, further simplifying here. Got to be a bit careful. If I'm winning b3 here, well, bishop b6. Could I try for a mating net on bishop b6 with rook c2 check? If king g1, rook d1's mating. If king h3, maybe I can try and seal up some sort of mating net. That game recently, I managed to lose a lot of time though trying to get a mating net, which didn't happen. Bit wary about that. Let's see. If I try and win this a pawn. Actually, there's rook f4 as well here. Maybe rook f4 is better. No, actually, I'll keep that threat alive. Let's take this now. Alright, so possibly g5, g4 at the right moment. Got to watch out for g7. That bishop can coordinate potentially on g7. Alright, I can probably threaten something soon on g3. Now h3 is threatened, which I think overloads white. Yeah. It was a good battle. Well done. It was a good battle. So, okay, Kaz. I'm going to try this gambit here, which is a bullet hang-up, but it's kind of rebellious. I don't know. I get the idea that if white takes, it's totally unknown territory as far as most people's opening theory, and B, I've got a sort of active pieces here, which I think is often good enough for a blitz game. Basically, Now, I could be being very optimistic here, but I've had good results from this sort of position. Because I think basically, as long as there are active pieces and it's a blitz game, it's not too terrible thing to consider. Some strange, weird and wonderful gambits. Because part of the fun for me of blitz is being able to experiment with stuff, without too much punishment. It's not as if it's like a major, whatever happens, it's not a major thing, is it? A blitz game. So you can have a bit of fun experimenting with ideas. Okay, now he's taking like a lot of the sting out of my position, so how much fun will I get actually? Yeah, it seems pretty solid actually at the moment. I can get away with this. The rook's protected on d6 at the moment. In fact, have I got any attacking scheme available? Bishop g4, queen h5, rook g6. I can hold e4 now with this move. So the queen's holding e4. Can I start attacking with rook g6 basically? That's kind of the sort of thing I like to attack in blitz, rook g6. In fact, I'm threatening here knight takes d2, aren't I? Winning a piece, technicality, but I am actually threatening knight takes d2. This is not something that's part of my attack here, but it is winning a piece, knight takes d2. That's a threat that needs to be dealt with. That definitely looks as though it needs to be dealt with. Knight takes d2. Okay, it has been dealt with, but now, okay, let's see. Is there an attack bring up? I don't want to lose e4, so let's hold on to this. Oh, hang on. There's knight h4 technically, which could be a nuisance, like in the recent Aronian game in Norway against someone where knight h4. Is that against Kramnik? Yeah, I think Kramnik, yeah. And there was a sort of knight h4, and the attacking pieces were very vulnerable. Now rook g5 there, bishop g4, rook g4, f3. I'm sort of pinned, for example. Yeah, I'm pinned there. So let's take this easy with queen e7 for a moment. Or not. I'm wondering what to do now. No! Let's go here. Let's get this out of the firing line for a moment. As though I'm threatening knight e. No, let me try this again. Let me try this again. I'm going to try and arrange safely rook g6 without knight h4. I think that's the first thing to do. White's kind of passive, all cramped and passive here, huddled up. But that queen was a nuisance on a4 in some of the lines. Now here, maybe there's an idea of, well, bishop h3 I think is the threat now, to win the exchange at least. That is the clear and imminent danger. Bishop h3 will win the exchange in this position. Bishop h3 is winning the exchange here. I believe. So this is a tempo gainer. Let's keep the king out of the firing line on this diagonal just in case. Knight d2, bishop h3. Now there's queen e4. Bishop g2, queen e7. Bishop f3 is mating there. So I believe I can play bishop h3 here. Unless there's anything stronger. Rook sack. Knight e5 might be better. Because it actually is with tempo. Well, there's queen e4, is it? But then there's c5 and bishop c6, skewing the queen against the rook, against the g2. But the thing is on my rook. No, hang on. The rook's held by the knight. Hang on. Knight e5, queen takes. c5. Is that actually possible? He might have f4 there. I don't really need to get involved in this stuff. I think I'm going to go back to my simple idea, which involves just winning the exchange. Any knight e5 is complicated by queen takes e4. There's no real need to enter that complication necessarily if I'm just winning the exchange here. Am I? Is there a resource here I've missed? It's very possible. That's the resolution of chess. There might be resources to miss. Now bishop takes g2 might be the most accurate move. Knight takes queen, bishop f3, unless... No, there's knight takes g6. That wouldn't be funny. Okay, let's just take the knight then. Not be too clever. Okay. I'm tempted to just go for a mate on g2 here instead, actually. Alright, that is being a bit clever, but I'm thinking bishop f3 is leading to a fawn pawn on f3, which, hang on, if I take, I lose the rook. Nope, I should have taken the exchange. I should have taken the exchange. I'm not even getting my fawn pawn here. He's on that rook. This has been a little bit of a tricky game, and I keep underestimating resources instead of playing simply. Sometimes it's better to have simple chess and avoid complications. Simple chess would have been to take the exchange. That's for sure. I'm attracted by aesthetics and aesthetic ideas though. So my fawn pawn attempt, okay, it's failed, but it's not the end of the world. Not just yet, anyway. What about h5, h4? The attack could still rage on a bit. h5, h4. If h4, I'm taking that. I'm protecting e4 still. I'm threatening rook g3. So the thing is, h4 by itself is not doing too much because it'll just give him the h1 square for his rook. So what I need to do is still be very careful here. I've just noticed there's rook e4 and king f3 now potentially. This is the kind of thing he's going to do with 14 seconds, isn't it? He is going to do this with 14 seconds. So do I just let him? I could consider h3 check first to try and dissuade this whole idea. Okay, he's not taking that pawn, so I get to hold this pawn. Okay, I'm allowing now rook to the 7th, aren't I? Let's get this rook away from e4. Okay. Yeah, simple chess can sometimes rule, actually. Sometimes you can really hang yourself in longer games thinking about all sorts of stuff, which you would have done better in a 5-minute game. Sometimes when you think about stuff, you just create loads of clutter, yeah, and variations which are full of holes. Sometimes better not even to check them out, as there was just a hole there. I wanted a fawn pawn, it wasn't even happening. But anyway. Okay, let's see. I am white. Sorry, is my recording level wrong? How is the audio? I'm just going to check. Someone mentioned about... Oh, it's at 72. Pardon me, sorry. It was at 72. I don't know what happened there. It's now at 100. Hopefully the audio level is going to go up a bit more. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, I recorded a couple of videos for my own channel. Sometimes Skype changes the recording level, unfortunately. Now, you might think this is a bit strange to accept the double pawns, but hopefully my punishment isn't too severe for the double pawns. At the moment, it looks as though it's not going too well. with c4 vulnerable, has he got a perfect Nimzo Indian? Okay, have I got bishop a3? He's going to have to blockade, usually with d6 c5. Now, that's the kind of blockade strategy to block c4. Restrain, blockade, destroy. Nimzovich. Restrain, blockade, destroy. Which actually is kind of the thing they would use in hunting. Bow and arrow hunting. The same sort of principle. The idea is you slow down, restrain a target. Blockade is like slowing it down even more, then destroy it. So it's in hunting. You want a fixed target because it's much more difficult with a moving target. And basically, part of Nimzovich, my system, is a lot about, okay, there's bishop f3 tactically here, but it's a lot about this restrain, blockade, destroy. You start with the double pawns, you create a blockade, and then you can start working on like winning c4. It's like that sort of targeting. I'm wondering, can I not play knight e5 here as a tempo gain, which kind of seems to refute, and he's got a certain move order in mind that I take here, but bishop f3, but knight e5 unfortunately does seem like a killer tempo gain in this position. I'm not sure what black does after it. It's unfortunate that I have this. Black's strategy should have just been mainly restrain, blockade, destroy, as far as I'm aware. So a must is to get Nimzovich, my system, because that's basically a lot of what he's talking about is winning chess through basically making sure the opponent hasn't got too much counterplay, and that's like in the broader sense of this. You win without too much counterplay is another thing. So rook takes, queen takes is getting annoying. He is winning some pawns here. I can choose which pawn to lose, or I can set a trap with c5, check for bishop e5, but he can move his king after. Now if he moves his king after that, then I might have any cd, the c file opens up, so I don't think about winning d6 here. So let's just say goodbye to one of these pawns, to f3, as long as knight b3 is not mating. If I say goodbye to f3, bye bye f3. What about d5? Opening up this diagonal, there's e5. c5 seems more dangerous to me, a bit more double-edged. If this c file is opening up, there's a backfire on my king. Okay, I've got the bishop pair. He takes that pawn. In theory, he's got some pawns there for the endgame. Let's see. Queen takes f3. What do I do? You see, I'm wondering, queen takes f3, d5, e5, he closes up. Maybe I just need to accept that for a moment. Maybe e4. Maybe he takes, I might have to take with the rook, the way I've played this. Is that pin? Okay. I can set a trap, a naughty trap. I know, very naughty. Bishop b5 check. But I can put a pawn on c6 and squish the knight. The knight's not going back to b7, is it? Knight on the rim is dim and stranded here if he castles c6. Knight on the rim, dim. Okay, I hope. Now if I could protect my queen, then I could move the bishop. Now rook e2 might be useful. And bishop b4 could be useful, just to protect the queen. Okay, that's not so much of a hassle. Let's stop f3 for a moment. F3 could happen anyway. Right, these pawns are going to be dangerous. Let's eliminate this knight, because I don't like the idea of knight b3, forking my queen and king. Very funny. I could guard that with my king, actually, to keep the bishop on the board for bishop e1. Rook f4 tactic if the king was on h8. I'll try and dissuade these pawns. So g3, rook f3. these pawns are getting dangerous. Queen d2 is possible there, I think, without knight c4. Alright, so queen e2, g3, there's queen g4 there. Saving the situation a bit. So I'm wanting, okay. What do I do about these pawns? Rook h1. If I introduce rook h1 here, the bishop's on f1, so maybe on f2's check, I have to get my king out of the firing line. Sorry, I think I might be back now. I seem to have this every week at the moment. Connection drop. Loss of rating points. Oh well, there goes my rating. Thanks. I think there were some chances here. I mean, I think I'm worse, actually. Yeah, these pawns are looking menacing in this final position, but I might be able to score some sort of perpetual with, say, rook g3 and queen h5. The king's a bit exposed, but okay, it could be that I'm just losing that anyway. Okay, next challenge. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on in the last few Sundays. I don't know if BT are doing some works on Sunday. I was thinking maybe I should just restart my router prior to this session. I forgot. I was a bit tied up with all the stuff. Okay, hopefully it doesn't drop again in this session. Right, so trying to get some dark square play. Something like e5 and knight e4 is probably unsound here. What about rook d1 then? Rook d1, rook c1, knight b5. Or there might be the case for knight d5 takes. Knight d5 here, under better circumstances, would be leading to d6 and d takes. If that pawn was supported, this knight d5 looks pretty good. Stream should be back, shouldn't it? It's back, isn't it? Stream? Just press play, I think. Press play. Press play or something. Okay, I think the stream is back. So knight d5, ed loads up for d6 and d takes. You could take king h8. I think it's still okay. D takes opens up. Basically, I've opened up the diagonal in that case, which can't be too bad in this sort of situation with the lead environment and potential, spectator pieces here. Ed. If we say, for example, king h8, d takes. You can see that the pawn has been cleared. King's on h8, which could be some sort of liability later. You can start to look for sort of mating patterns with a king on h8. If this diagonal is cut, it's almost as if there's a mating net constructed. So something like, for example, knight g6, you can fictionally imagine rook h3 mating then. Actually, maybe even that's possible with a4, rook a3. So opening up this diagonal could have some bad implications for king safety here. You could, so just to recap, like for example, well, concretely, okay, in this position, concretely, I think there's an issue with that because of the e7 thing. In fact, I could probably take check, knight takes e5, and that pawn's pinned. There is g5 there, and that's an interesting position. I've got a couple of pieces hanging. The other way I could consider here is knight takes, and on pawn takes d6 check is winning on the knight. This might actually be clearer to play knight takes e5. Yeah, that might actually be a clearer way of playing this, to try and exploit e7. It looks pretty good. If takes knight e7 check, king h8, knight g6, I win the queen. If takes here, I play d6 and I win the knight. I think this is a good situation to be in. So I want to play d6 check. Now I have got two pieces hanging here for sure. I can probably play knight d3 though for queen e7. Yeah, I think I'll play knight d3. No, I haven't got two pieces hanging, but let's get them out of the way. Now it looks as though e6 is tempting. So rook a d1, knight f4, knight e6, or just knight f4 straight off the bat. Just to go into that e6 square. There's this YouTube video where Karpov is this video is showing Karpov, you know, finding a weakness like e6 and simply playing to maneuver around that weakness, that weak square. But here, yeah, knight e6 looks pretty cool. e7 for end. Okay, so there's some game left still. There's some work to do here. I'm wondering what's the quickest, well, not the quickest. What's the most effective way of breaking through here? Blockade. Not sure really at the moment. One standard method might be h4, h5, just to soften the king side. Okay, yeah, simplifying. Why did I imagine I'm a piece up? I'm not a piece up. It's the heat. It's pretty hot. That's my excuse. I don't appear to be a piece up. Oh boy. Anyway, it looks pretty good, whatever this position is. It looks pretty good for a moment. Okay. Now if I took, I think queen takes d6. Ha ha. But e7 check. Ha ha. Because king h8, e8, queening. Then, if takes, I can probably take on c1. So actually, I'm wondering if I should be brave enough to do this line. Noting the heat. Let's just check it again, noting the heat. Rook takes d6. So I'm not worried about rook takes, because queen takes, right? Now if queen takes, e7 check. The king hasn't got f8 or f7. I imagine the king goes there, e8. It looks as though I might have a point here. I hope I have a tactical point. Okay. Now rook d7 check, as long as I'm not getting mated after king h2, that would be good, because then e7 check is arriving with rook d8 to follow. e7 here looks very tempting because takes rook d7 is check. Oh, this is check already. Anyway. Okay, so rook d8. And queen. Okay, I kind of lost track of material evaluation during that game. Oh well. I'll pre-move. It's a safe pre-move. Okay, thanks for the game. Easy rider. Might not be easy. He's 2350. Pretty good rating there. Relative to mine. Okay. So I'm playing a kind of reverse. Well, it's not even a reverse French defense. It's high position, which I think is okay. Sort of, it could have arisen from the King's Indian defense. Yeah, this looks as though I'm doing okay. As a junior, there was this lecture given by John Nunn on his 2 wins against Korchnoi, which he both won, but one of them, he was talking about his knight on b5, which couldn't be moved. Yeah, so he kind of considered it a blunder to play a5 because it allowed knight b5. He had reams of analysis, printed analysis, for his game encounters. It was fascinating. Some 2 very sharp games in some tournament. He won both, yeah, against Korchnoi. Very dangerous tactician. Bishop f5 looks as though knight d3 spied. What about queen d1? To stop knight d3. Yeah. Not too many choices. Maybe e4. Can I not just take on d6? If knight d3, maybe knight f5. Am I in trouble after knight d3? That's the thing. Oh. That's interesting. If I'm in trouble after knight d3. No, knight takes f5 is with check, and I'm taking on d3 after. Yeah, I weaken d3. On knight d3, knight takes f5. Right, right. Now knight takes, I'm on the thing here. So bishop takes, knight takes. If knight takes, he's on my rook. I could play bishop takes, and if he takes here, then I take it, fracturing the pawns. If he takes back, I take that. So I think this is all good news, knight takes. So I'm threatening knight takes c5 here. And on bishop takes, I'm going to take, if I can take away that... bishop c3, rook e2. Aha. Yeah, that's annoying. Knight takes, and there's queen takes, bishop takes. If queen takes, bishop takes, yeah. So I've got bishop c6 here. I've got rook c6. Bishop c6 might be more simplifying. Queen c7, bishop e8, bishop takes d6. It might be more simplifying. as in exchange up with a more simplified position. He's on h2. I'll take care of that for a moment. I don't want my kingside chipped away. Bishop, queen d5, bishop b5. And first port of call is I'll stop queen e5. I guess there's f4 and bishop f3 though. f4, bishop f3. g3 drops the h3 pawn. I think I can do this. If he goes over here, I can take the bishop. Queen c5, I'm going to probably play. Maybe bishop d5 is good, central. Then king h1 to unpin, then e4, then f5. Alternatively, what about just queen d5 there, just to simplify? Try and simplify. Queen d5. So queen c5, queen d5, queen e7, e4. Let's imagine e4 for a moment. Bishop c5, king h1. Bishop moves. Okay, so e4. Bishop f4 I can take. The rook's held. It's not pinned for a moment. I hope this is not overly ambitious. Do this. Away from the sensitivity of f4 on a skewer. Right, can we swap here? Don't like to have loose pieces lying around. If we can help it. Alright. Now build up for maybe f5, but there's a pin on e1. Okay, let's get that. Okay, I'm hoping there's no bishop h3. He's kind of unpinned. Can I blunt that bishop just in case? It's bishop d6. Then just what about e5 just to stop the effect of the dark square bishop? Exchange off here. Now maybe f5 just to try and get to my opponent's king. That diagonal's blunted. I'm just wondering about the dark square play. I'm hoping it's not too much. Quite tricky to sometimes manage counterplay. Bishop d7, bishop h7, queen f7, just checking some random stuff. Bishop h7, queen f7, queen d7. As long as his bishop's not conspiring with the queen here, that could be simplifying. Has to worry about f7 now. e6 is also on c5. So e6 takes queen g6, king moves. There's rook f7 there without any checks. I could simplify with e6 because it's on the bishop on queen e7. Eyes resigned. Thank you, Easy Runner. Thank you. Azul missed. Azul missed. I'm playing this because I'm very comfortable like it. It's like comfortable slippers, this opening. Oh, that's terrible. I think for me to say, I don't know. It's just like comfortable slippers. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what sort of comment that is. I don't know. There is a point. There is a point. Sometimes you want to play openings you feel more comfortable in, and you can't quite define why you're comfortable in them. But you know also it's good to make the opponent uncomfortable, and it's this emotion that you'd think is not part of chess. We should all be Vulcans, but perhaps we're not Vulcans, and so there is a certain emotional thing going on at some level with certain openings. you know, comfort, discomfort. But this one, the reason I probably feel comfortable with it is quite often there's a ready-made plan here of going with the f pawn. So king h7, f5. Okay, so f5, and then maybe d6, f5. So f5. Yeah, it looks attacking. It looks attacking to play f5 here. The forcing move is introduced f4, which is not handy at the moment, but there could be a moment in time that could be handy. So it's good to have some available forcing moves. They're a reflection of your like tactical pressure on the position. Now at the moment, I think my opponent's pretty solid. Does he want to give me that dark square bishop? That's the thing. If I play g5, I'm always weakening these squares, and there's also, I probably have to factor in a piece sack as well. So bishop f4. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to snap this guy off and play bishop d7. I'm hoping this is okay. In fact, I could consider knight e5. I'm just hoping this bishop without a counterpart is sometimes better than just a bishop. If it hasn't got a counterpart, then you can look forward to opportunities which might be more difficult to defend against. It's like having an advantage on a certain colour complex. If you've got a bishop without counterpart, you know, the classic example of that is the Morphy opera game, if you remember that, because you know, Morphy got the light square bishop, and all of a sudden, you know, f7, b7. A lot of the light squares in the game were weakened simply because they gave up, you know, their light square bishop, and Morphy was able to probe on light squares quite easily, create batteries. It's a must-see game if you haven't seen the Morphy opera game anyway. But you should know what I'm talking about. I hope. You know, the light square or dark square complex is helped if you've got a bishop. But I've got both the bishops here against that bishop, but nevertheless my king's side slightly compromised. The thing is also, it's tricky to say that my king's weak. It's only weak really if it's that exploitable. Is it that exploitable? With the knight on e5, I think that's a good position for the knight. He's swapping that off. Okay. It's possible that I could be exposed. I'm wondering about rook d8 if I need to protect d6. On taking, bishop takes, knight d4. Okay, I'm wondering about d5 here now. d5 might be plausible to shut out that bishop for a moment. Now if I can just push this back here to maintain the bishop pair. Yeah, g6 could be vulnerable. I got to bear this in mind. It could be removing defender, and there could be a sack against g6. Now rook f7 is also dangerous. Maybe rook e7. Okay, I can take the queens off here, thankfully. It's balanced. So g6 is not critical. But I have to be worried about rook f7 now. Bishop c8, as long as there's a knight e6. Bishop c8 might be plausible. I don't like this pin. I'm on the defensive at the moment. Bishop c8. Entry points though. Where does that... How does that rook progress? Let's swap this rook off with rook f8. I'm material up. It's often good to simplify. If you can. Have to watch out for the forcing moves there, because otherwise that could be embarrassing. Alright, so bishop d6. Is he torturing my poor thing with knight h4? Probably. And if I played bishop e7, has he got knight e5? Probably. I might have bishop f5. Might be an easier thing to unpin the pawn here, to give the option of g5. Okay, and let's centralize the bishop to stop knight e5 as well. And let's push this to take away d4 from that knight. Now possibly, yeah, to hold the d4 square, if I can recapture, I'm holding that d4 square still. No, I think this is okay, g5. Okay, no, there's no knight g4 just yet. I can probably bring my king towards the center, standard procedure in endgames. Thanks, yeah, thanks for the game. It was a good fight. Now I'm in trouble, huh? Okay. I'm hoping my connection is not going to go twice like last week. No, it didn't go twice last week, but I'm hoping, because it's already gone, my connection, I'm hoping it's going to... What's this? What's this? Okay, it's gone. Oh. So I've just blundered a pawn already. I didn't necessarily mean to do that. That was a quick pre-move, wasn't it? I'm hoping to castle queenside and have some play. Anyway, it's only a blitz game. Get some counterplay. The knight's dislodged from a natural defensive spot there. Trying to look at resources and keep calm as a precursor to finding resources in the position. He's not keen to automatically castle. Maybe I can play for d4. Just play positioning, d4 in the center. So something like maybe I can point it as king now if there's nothing better to do. Knight g4, queen h4. You see, without the knight on f3, this kind of stuff might be more dangerous than usual. Unless he's winning d4 here, this could be silly of me, of course. Maybe I should have considered taking. It's not too late. Maybe takes is not too late. Don't want to lose a centre pawn for nothing. The fishing pole I don't mind if he wants to activate my rook. Maybe f5, bishop d5. It's always bishop f3. Okay, so yeah, I think I've worked it out. Don't panic in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think I've finally worked it out. It's only taken me 5 years, more than 5 years. I think really, don't panic in itself, e.g. when you're playing someone 2700, is not entirely helpful. That's my first conclusion. It's not entirely helpful in its own right. Queen d6 threatens mate and opens up the fishing pole, but he has g3. Might be worth teasing that weakness anyway. He's not really going to give me a fishing pole, right? Yeah, I think don't panic, and this is top secret, is a good precursor for controlling the mind to then carefully research the available options. Yeah, I think it's a good precursor. It's not an end in its own right necessarily. Rook d1 is a pain. Queen e7, I'm not sure I'll get time for g5 because of this thing, but I'll give it a shot for him to play g3. Maybe rook h7, g3, g5. I mean rook h7, g5. for bishop d5. If he ever takes, if he ever plays rook h1, check, f3, ef, bishop f3. There might be some stuff going on in the h file. It starts with the unpinning for sure. So g5, or maybe just doubling the rooks. Takes rook h1, queen e4, f3, ef, bishop f3. If I double here, resources. Research the resources available. Check. King e1. Rook on the 7th is usually worth having anyway. There is queen b4 here. c3. c3 blocks his bishop. Might be worth taking that pawn off. Resources. I get one shot at this every week. Now rook e2, queen c4. This is what I'm talking about, resources. With the check, it's lethal on d2. If I took check, king f2. Do I need a knight? Let's think, check. Check, king g1. Check. Queen e4. Looks as though it's promising. Check. On h2. Check. 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 That looks dangerous. Now you may be wondering why I'm whispering. It's because I'm trying to find some resources in the position. Check, check. Here. Isn't there queen f3? There's rook h1 there. Okay. Queen e4. Set some things. Queen d2, rook g2. What about just rook g2 straight off the bat for doubling the rooks? Could win this bishop in some lines. With the rooks doubled. Pigs on the 7th times 2. Basically. Would you really want to pass up pigs on the 7th times 2? A lot of Fischer games he won when he got a rook on the 7th. 2 rooks on the 7th is better. Rook f2 check. Okay, 2 rooks on the 7th. There's knight b4 on bishop d3. That could help the cause. Bishop b1. There's knight b4 here. What about queen e3? I just missed queen e3. Talk about resources. I missed the simplest resource going, queen e3. Oh, what a moron. Right, pre-move mode. Pre-move mode. Stop rook d8. Knight d4. Iron fist is my expression. When you beat someone good, you think of Botvinnik. Iron fist. Logic. I do consider him good. Very dangerous. You can see from his plus score. I consider him good. I have to consider him good. He's proven it. And he beats the IM streamers as well sometimes, quite a lot. I've noticed. I do occasionally look at other streamers as well. So this one's a dangerous guy, picking on streamers. Well, not today, Chillingford. Not today. You don't crush a streamer today. Oh dear, not today. But yeah, I stand by what I said. Was in all seriousness, the don't panic is a prelude to controlling the mind. If you can control the mind, you can then research. If you're in a squish position, a losing position, something's horrible, emotionally disturbed you, are you going to find resources? Are you going to sit there finding the best resources? Not necessarily. Something to bear in mind, I think. Yeah. You know, he had a point. The guy that did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there was a lot of stuff in there, yeah, and he was into chess as well. There's a lot of stuff in there, which is very profound, and it's like I've had years to think about this thing, yeah. You know, don't panic. You know, what does it mean? What does it mean, really? It's controlling the mind, I believe, as a prelude, I say, anyway, let's get on to this next game. Okay, so you see, my mind at this moment is not in control. You see, am I researching the position? No, point proven. I don't need to say anymore. I don't want to open up this diagonal, but there's always bishop e4 after, you know. But then I'm opening up this diagonal. I don't really want e5 for bishop g5 later. Oh boy. Okay. There's never any rest on this, is there? Never a rest game. There's always resources to factor in. Knight h5, queen g3. Come on then. I don't want to make these bishops nasty creatures with e5. MGTOW's nickname's disappearing. Okay, info's disappearing. Okay, here we go. Control the mind first. Right. Okay. Queen g3, g6, e5, bishop g6, crush. Double attacking. d6, g6, easy. Squeezing. I hope. Queen c7. I can gain a tempo with bishop e4, and then it's my turn again for bishop g6. If I don't want to allow queen g2 after bishop g6, queen g2 takes, and he takes there. So bishop e4, key tempo gain. By the way, there's no such thing as half tempo. You might have heard Peter Svidler say about half tempo. I'm pretty sure it's not to be taken seriously. I did ask him about it on the site, and he said it's not to be taken seriously. There's no such thing as half tempo. I can explain why. Yes, you get this for free as well. I'll explain why. A tempo is based on a ply, P-L-Y. A ply is already worked out. There was this massive ambiguity about what a chess move is. Is it one move or two moves? A ply is a single half move, and a tempo has always referred to plies, not moves, as in two moves, plies. So there's no such thing as half a tempo. I just want to clarify that. There's no such thing as half a tempo. Bishop G6, Bishop H7. Come on. Hopefully this is crushing. I've just blundered, haven't I, to Bishop C5. What a muppet! I've just blundered to Bishop C5! No! No! Okay, I'm going to mop up some pawns here. I got the knight there. That wasn't... He had to play King H8. Yeah. Okay. My mind is not in control right now. It's still going on about the past. I'm not in the present. I'm in the past. I need to get focused. You see, I'm missing resources. This is the thing. This is the thing I'm talking about. Yeah, chess is supposed to be, it's supposed to be a logical, rational game. You're supposed to be finding the best move in every position. You can't do that if your mind is elsewhere. Maybe that's good for blitz because you can move anyway quickly. It doesn't matter. But here, even in blitz, you want to try and find good moves some of the time. So let's see. Bishop D6. That looks awkward, but I don't want to run into knight E5. You see, I'd rather play it like this rather than suffer with knight E5 and D4. I'd rather play it like this. Then this good positional move, which you're all used to from the GMs, of course, G5, G4, or maybe not. Is F5 plausible? If it takes Bishop D5, is that terrible? How terrible is that? For me to play F5 here. With the idea of F4 squishing. F5 is no good here. Okay. H5 losing a pawn, followed by G4 losing another pawn. Looks fun. Yeah, I think I'll play that. I'm seriously thinking about playing that. If Queen G4, Knight F6 is almost winning a piece. If Bishop G4, then I castle queenside. Yeah. Actually, I can't even play. I've just hallucinated. I've got Knight F6. I haven't got any Knight F6. Okay, I've just made a hallucination variation there to justify H5. That's interesting. Okay, would he take a pawn which is like on an open road near his king? Yes, he would, apparently. And would he take another with the queen? The problem is my knight on D8. I got to say it's not entirely clever. My knight on D8. Can I actually try and get it to F7 here? Then castle, then rook G8. I'm sure Basman would be proud. I'm sure Basman has played like this on many occasions. I'm following a proven template of attack. Just look at games of Basman. Knight F7 castling. It could have come out of a reverse grob. Seriously, it could have come out of one of the official openings like reverse grob quite easily, this position. Or the killer macho grob in reverse. Oh no, I should have thought about I'm not thinking. I should have thought about taking that. I don't want to be squished. Oh. He's giving me some dark square play here for sure. Pawn. Knight G5. Rook G8. Bob's your uncle. Knight H3 is coming up. Rook G8. Looks crushing. It's all worked out. Winning pawns around your king, for me, has a certain sense of over precision. Trying to win material where your king is I think on the theoretically dodgy side sometimes. Of course, this wasn't the best follow-up for white, because it seems I'm getting everything I wanted and dreamt after rook dg8, knight takes h3, knight f2, rook h1 checkmate. Is everything I've been dreaming about on the G and H files is coming together here in a crushing way. Oh, this king f1, huh? King f1. What about a5 then for bishop a6? So there's bishop e2 there. Yeah, and it's with check on my king. Okay. I'm still playing anyway. When the king reaches f1, I can play a5. Balkan committee on the diagonal. Alright, I'll have this option open then for bishop e6. H3 looks okay to me. Hang on. There's 2 pawns for a knight. Who cares about knights? Rook takes and then queen h7. I've also got even bishop h6 on the cards. Bishop a6. So queen h7. I played Basman once. It was a draw. I was winning. He offered a draw and I stupidly accepted it. You never get these chances again, guys. If you're doing better against the GM, just crush them. Yeah, forget about losing. Just go for the big prize. Yeah, don't be a chicken. Rook e2, rook g4, bishop e2, rook h1. Do I want to do that? Or rook g2? That's interesting. King f3. Our bishop takes e2 there. If rook takes, rook takes. I've got b7. I'm happy. Thanks. Okay. Victor. I hope he's not the victor in this game. Victor. Very funny. Very optimistic nickname here. Unless that's his real name. Okay. So a Dutch stone wall formation, you want to swap off the bishops usually. I could play for that, basically. Maybe later with Queen C1, Bishop A3. If I'm not getting mated by then. Can I do this? A4 and Bishop A3 without even castling. The classic worked out Botvinnik template against the Dutch stonewall. Sometimes it's okay to play Queen A3 and get the queens off. As long as my grip on the dark squares is okay here. Tactically, C5 is a worthwhile forcing move. Now the E5 grip is okay. Knight E5, Knight D7, C5 at some point hitting the bishop. And there's also Bishop H5, maybe for G6. Maybe this is worth playing. In fact, if Queen H5 instead, then G6 does Knight G6. So I can arrange that with C5, Bishop A6, Queen H5, G6, Knight G6. So let's see. So Knight E5, Knight D7, C5. Okay, he's got Bishop E2, Queen takes. Oh, it's not happening. Right here, what's happening with C5? Anything? Good dark square grip. Surely it takes. Or he takes there. I end up with Rook C5. We can gang up on the backward pawn and gang up on this C pawn. The thing is, the C pawn leads to the 7th rank, which leads to G7. So that might be the key thing about this C5. So it takes Knight D7, Rook C5. Say even if that's inserted, Rook B3, Rook C1. Say Rook B3, Rook C6. With the idea of Rook C7, you could try and defend, but then there's also a target on E6. I think I'll go for that. So we're talking this backward pawn versus this backward pawn, basically. But I'm saying that this backward pawn might have implications for his king. Well, that's my bet anyway. More than this one. Let's have a quick look at this again. Queen takes, Rook takes, Bishop takes, Queen takes. Rook B8, Rook C1, Rook B6. He could defend. Maybe Queen G4 and H4, H5, H6. Let him take on E2 or not? Yeah, I think I'll let him take on E2. Yeah, I can treble. Rook B6, I can treble. Rook B3, Rook C6. I'm not getting back row mated just yet. It'll be nice to sort out my back row. So we exchange off. I've got access to Rook C7. There's also Rook A5 here for a passed pawn. But the 7th rank for the king is sometimes lucrative. There's a parking spot on C5 here without hassle for the queen. So he plays Rook B2, Queen C5 with the idea maybe Rook C7 there. Not missing a tactic here, am I? You can win the A pawn. Okay, I play Rook C7, he plays Queen E8. I have got Queen A7 in that position, he plays Queen F8. I've got Rook G7, Queen G7, Queen B8. If his rooks are not protecting each other. So Rook C7. I think Queen C5 first to force the Queen back to E8. The rooks get disconnected. That's a potentially loose rook. Rook C7, Queen E8. Queen A7, Queen F8 gives me the option of Rook G7. he takes away that square from his queen as well, the a4 square. So let's have a look. Rook c7, queen e8. Oh. Didn't see that one, did I? Oh, okay. I think there's queen d6. Don't panic just yet. Don't panic. It's not what I intended. There still might be a way of getting onto the dark squares. Rook b1, rook b7 later. Rook b1, rook c1. Avoid the check. Still plays rook c1. He's got a check here. This rook and pawn ending. Maybe it's better to have that queen ending. If he wants rook c1, give him that. Check. Check. Well, it looks like a dangerous position for him to welcome, isn't it? There's queen g3 at minimum. Queen g7 after. See, the worst case in chess, you panic, you even resign, you make the decision to resign. It's a committal decision. It's even more committal than pushing a pawn forward. When you resign, you lose the game. No game was ever won by resigning. It's actually, technically, he created a weakness of the last move, that his rook on b8 was loose for that moment. I thought that was it. I thought, okay, that's a shame. Next game, but I'm happy that this is the outcome. Is there a mate here now? I can probably just come in with the troops. Oh, there was another game because there was a connection failure, so I got lucky there. I thought that was it. I just didn't see it. Yeah, tempo gain. Okay, Karim Reed. Hi there. There have been games in history where grandmasters, I think, have resigned in, not just I think, I'm pretty sure, have statistically resigned on all sorts of time controls, not just blitz, when they thought they were losing, and in fact they might have had some resource. So okay, let's see someone else just quickly, just for a last game. Now this is unfortunately a guest member. It's good to come a premium member to challenge me. This guy's got a high rating. And in fact, the guy after that has got a high rating. Is it a good time to stop here? Hang on. Now, if I had a chicken costume, I'd put it on right now. Oh, man. Do I have to end on a bad note? Oh, okay, now, hang on. I think I might have had a good game against him last time. So where's my chicken costume? Oh, I have to end on the game. I was just getting that was gonna set my week up for being really happy about this session. It was gonna set my week up. I was gonna be happy. But no one's available to play. Look, he's not available to play. So Anakin, I know Anakin is gunning for my blood. Anakin's gunning for my blood. Here, okay, come on then. I think this is okay, this line. Is f5? Or is it e6? Well, I'll just take on d2. If I can get hold of the f5 square here, c5, d4, bishop f5, it might be okay. Try and provoke some weaknesses. It's a 3-minute game. I should note it's a 3-minute game. Just notice takes might have rook a4 to g4. Don't have to give up the exchange just yet. Right, so he's giving me that nice f5 square. Rook e6 to g6. Oh, natural. As 40 Towers would say, the guy in 40 Towers, Basil 40. Oh, natural. Rook e6 to h6. This swinging the rook. I'll have my b pawn. Take it. In fact, there's even rook b8 to try and potentially. How annoying. You could tear my queen side apart and win with the a pawn here. That's something which could happen. It is. It's true. It's true. He could win with his a pawn. Please don't tell me that's going to happen. Can this be the exception? Let's not have the queens off just yet. Okay, what about h5 to secure bishop f5 without g4 here? Or h4 to make sure g4 is not happening? H4. Unless he's going to attack me. Oh, he's going to win that pawn. Okay. I'll get ready. With king f7. And rook h8. I've got the file as compensation for the pawn. Rook on the 7th. Threatening bishop c2. It looks like very good compensation. Also, I'm up on the clock. I can win a4 here and queen my a pawn. He hasn't got knight e5, has he? This is getting too dangerous. Knight f5. Rook g8, there's knight h6. And if I sack the exchange? A pawn. Exchange down with a pawn with his clock situation. Statistically, I would say I'm going to do well here. You guys have really tested me today to the limits, because it's also been a hot day. I want to give thanks to the watermelons that I had to eat, that cooled me down a little bit for this session. I haven't got, unfortunately, air conditioning here, so it's really mega hot today, but it's been some spicy games as well. Hope you enjoyed it. 1 fun, 10 boring. If you want to vote now, just for the record, 1 fun, 10 boring. And if you want to like the video, that would be cool. If you can put some likes to the video while you're here. Okay, I'm just going to calm down while you vote. A takeaway lesson from today: don't panic. It's a prelude. You want to find the resources in the position. Even if you're about to resign, don't panic. There might be something. You never know. I did lose mental control after the win against the 2700. I did feel that. My variations were shaky. There were holes everywhere in the variations. And it's too hot today to play chess, really. Okay, so I'm going to go and watch TV for the rest of the day. Okay, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.